This module will introduce the schematic concepts of preferences and schematic template selection. Opening up the DXP preferences and selecting the schematic folder, let's look at the general category. As with most of the tool features in Altium, getting additional help and access to online documentation is as easy as using the F1 key while focusing on the window or the feature of interest. Let's try this on the General Schematic Preferences window. Hitting the F1 key opens up the corresponding Altium Tech Docs online technical document. Here we see detailed descriptions for the options on this preference page. You can use the F1 key to access the information to learn about or gain insight on a feature in Altium. Here we're hovering over the net label icon and hitting F1 to open up the corresponding Tech Doc page. Clicking on its web page link opens up the detailed description for the net label. Switching back to the Preferences window now, we can see that many of these options are checked by default. There are a few that we should ensure are checked. The first is Components Cut Wires option. This is a very handy option as it allows for an inserted component when placed on a wire to cut the wire automatically. Here's an example. By placing a resistor onto an existing wire, you will notice two things: that it's now connected and it has cut the wire, and in effect creating subnets on either side of this component. This can be a real time saver. Control double-click is a handy way to traverse the design hierarchy by simply holding the Control key and double-clicking on the top-level schematic sheet symbol. This opens the referenced schematic. The last preference option in this category we will look at is Display Crossovers. Clicking on the Display Crossover and then hitting the Apply key button has an immediate effect on the schematics. Notice how the wires that are not connected but do cross are affected by this option. With it enabled, an arc is added over non-connected wires as such. Altium provides this feature to accommodate for those companies with schematic standards requiring this style of schematic drawing. Depending on your preferences or company standards, you may want to modify the template and/or the sheet size settings for new schematics. Setting the sheet size is done using the pull-down menu. Selecting a template grays out the sheet size option, as the template would have a size already associated with it. If your company has a custom schematic template, it should be selected to enable it to be used for all new schematics. Looking at the graphical editing category, there are a number of boxes that are checked. I would suggest these as a starting point, modifying them as needed to suit your preferences. One more helpful group is the Auto Pan settings. Here you can change the Auto Pan mode, the speed, and step sizes to suit your preferences. I like the settings shown, but if I've had a lot of coffee, sometimes I will increase the panning speed to keep up with me. The Convert Special Strings option causes the place strings to display either the parameter or the value of the parameter in the schematic. When placing strings, there are two types of values that can be entered, either literal characters, or you can set it equal to a parameter. Here's an example showing the effect of the Convert Special Strings checked. Note the text is displayed and not the parameter. Now let's uncheck this option and hit Apply, and you can see that the parameters are now displayed that were used in the strings. We will discuss parameters in a later module, but for now understand that there are sheet level and project level parameters. These both can be referenced by text strings. Let's continue looking at preferences. Under the graphical editing group, the single backslash negation setting provides a simple means to place the negation bar over net labels. Checking that allows for net names with a leading backslash to have an overbar, indicating negative true. The classic example, of course, would be for reset, as shown here. We have a net label of reset, which is the top one, with a full bar across it. With that box checked, you can see the overbar. Unchecking that option and hitting Apply removes the bar. Let's open up the net label property for this so that we can see the single backslash that's causing the overbar. Note the other label only has the first three letters with an overbar. Looking at its net property label window by double-clicking on it, we can see why. If instead of a single leading backslash we employ multiple backslashes in line, we get the effect of placing the bar over some of the letters but not all. Please feel free to experiment with this. By the way, this use of multiple backslashes is not affected by the Preferences setting. The setting for the schematic default units is located under the Default Units category. Note that we have set imperial as the default. This is more common than metric for schematics, but your company standard may be metric. One interesting thing that we have been seeing with PC boards is that more and more often we are seeing the PC boards captured in metric units instead of imperial, even though the schematics use imperial. The Default Primitives category is where the settings for the various primitives can be set or modified as needed. As an example, let's select the arc and click on the Edit Values. We see the pop-up property window where we could modify this primitive's settings, including color. We can change the color like this. Also, we can change line width, radius, as well as other properties. This is just another way for Altium to provide customization and flexibility in the behavior of the tools and to enable efficiency. In Module 5, we covered schematic preferences showing the effect that they have on the appearance of the schematics. In the next module, we will explore design and schematic navigation.